Okay, really quick, it was pointed out to me that somehow I was dumb and deleted the entire section in our tour video of this area here. So I'm just gonna do that really quick. There's Kev. He's in the way. He's too big. Hi, Kev. Anyway, so this is our dining area, if that's what you want to call it. We've got our table here that is on a swivel. It's made the same as our countertop. So it's just that burnt wood. And behind it, we left an original bus seat in here. We just flipped it this way, it's secured down, and we left it primarily so that we could have seat belts, mostly for me or whoever's the passenger, so that we can be safe when we travel. And so that's where it is. It's just right here next to the front.
And I had a couple people ask me about that nutcracker. I don't know why, but my aunt got remarried and her new husband gave it to me, and he bought it because it looked like me. And it's the perfect little spot for him to sit.
Let's do a comparison. Huh? Huh? Pretty close. So anyway, yeah, that's that. Also, I'll just mention, we just have the one bar underneath here, and then we've got storage underneath that seat that we kind of boxed off, so we mostly just put our shoes under there. So yeah. Hello! This is proof that we both fit in this space, but we usually don't eat like this.
I usually eat standing up because I eat really fast, and then I move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to start answering some questions, so welcome.
I have a long list on my phone that I got off of YouTube. The first question, how long did it take to do the build? It was about 45 days of nights and weekends.
Yeah, we were both working full-time other jobs, and we would just, any spare time we had, mostly Joe, would be working on the bus.
So I would get off work about 5 o'clock, and I would work on the bus until about 10 o'clock at night. And then Saturday, Sundays, it was about a 10-hour day working on the bus. So a lot of hours put into it.
We were just trying to crank it out and get it done. So certainly doesn't have to be that fast. And you could probably do it faster. Just depends on what your life has going on.
Next question is the floor dimensions. So our living space is 16 feet long by 7.5 feet wide. With buses, as a lot of you probably know, your living space goes right up into the cab. So there's not a whole lot of wasted space in a bus.
And this size is nice because we were able to fit everything that we need in that 16 feet long. Probably wouldn't want to go longer if we're going to keep traveling. This is a nice size for traveling, maybe even still a little big. But if you go much smaller, you also lose out on some things. So...
Like what kind of things, Jess?
I don't know. Maybe not a shower. Whatever.
Also, this size is good because we're a little bit longer than like a full-size truck. So it's a little bit harder for us to fit in like a normal parking spot. But if like a lot of parking lots have the parking spots back to back, so you can still pull in and fit fine. You just take up a little bit more space. Driving around in cities, bigger cities, we can still get around just fine because we're not too long. We can still make some tight corners and things like that. Next question.
I was just going to say, those big school buses are really cool. And I'd love to do one, but certainly wouldn't want to travel in one. It would really limit... I mean, maybe not, but it seems like it would limit where we could go. We'd probably be more limited to just RV parks, and we didn't want that. So maybe one day for stationary, we'll do one that just sits around.
Yeah, we can still fit into most small places. We had a lot of questions about our shower and our shower pan. We went through all of that in the video we made about our water system. The link to the shower pan is also in the description of that video. We just found it on Amazon. It's 24 inches by 32 inches is the dimensions of our shower pan.
So check out that video, and we'll put a link to that video in this description box so that you can just find it easier.
I had a few questions about the deck on our roof and how we made it and secured it to the bus. A friend of mine that I used to frame houses with, he knows how to weld, and so he helped me do it. We bought some metal from a welding shop and measured it out, did it all ourselves. Doing the build, when I took down the ceiling, I was able to see all the framework of the ceiling and how it was put together. So then it gave me an idea of how to do the roof deck. The way we welded it together is very specific. So all of the load-bearing points of our roof deck is on one of the cross beams of our roof. So it's actually really strong. I think the most people we've had up there is 5, which is a lot because the deck's not huge, but
don't recommend it for a long period of time.
What, the 5 people?
Yeah. It's a lot of people to have up there for a while.
It was fun. It was a good time. Next question is, people are asking how tall I was and how tall the bus is. I am 6 feet 2 inches, and the bus is interior headroom, I believe, is 6 feet 3 inches and a half.
That's right at the middle at the top, right?
Yeah, right at the top. The bus roof is domed, so right in the center, I can still stand up without touching my hair on it. Which was important for me because our last van we had, I couldn't stand up in. Jess could because she's super short, but I couldn't, and it's nice to be able to stand up all the way.
Perks of not even being 5 feet tall.
Got a lot of questions about insulation. Buses are already kind of insulated. They're not insulated very good. But there is some in them because they do that to not have as much road noise when you're driving. Since you have passengers in your bus, normally you don't want a bunch of road noise coming through the walls of the bus. The insulation in the walls of our bus, we left and we furred our walls out past that point and added a little bit more. And the floor we furred up about, I think it was an inch, and did some insulation there. And then the ceiling we took completely off and redid it because we wanted to put the Reflectix along the ceiling. And then we added more insulation and recovered the ceiling up. We did not use fiberglass because that insulation is really annoying to work with. Makes you itchy. It's hard to breathe with. You got to wear a mask. We used a different kind of bat insulation that's not made with fiberglass, and it was way better. The insulation value is actually a little bit higher. But we can put a link to the insulation we bought from Home Depot in the description of this one, and you can look at it more from there.
So we did on the walls, we did a mix of that batting and then the Reflectix as well, just to add a little extra. And this thing, it's been getting cold at night here lately, and we've stayed nice and warm. And if it does get cold, it doesn't take long to heat up with either our diesel heater or a space heater. And it stays pretty warm, even with the windows. So, yep. It's nice.
And we are permanently plugged in right now, so we do have like a little space heater from Walmart that we run. It's just a little easier. The diesel heater does great, but once it warms up the bus and gets to temperature, the diesel heater will turn off. And if it gets really cold again, you gotta just hit the on button again to turn it back on. With the space heater from Walmart, we just set the thermostat real low and it maintains it over the winter. Another question we had is about finding parking, and we kind of talked about this when we talked about the dimensions, but the parking is pretty easy to find because we are still pretty small. And this job we have in Montana, they allow us to park here for free, super easy. They have RV hookups for us, really nice. Definitely a good spot that we had found to work for the summer. But when we're traveling, we like to stick to either like BLM campgrounds because they're usually free, state parks because they're usually really cheap. Most of the times you can stay in a state park for like $25 a night if you're in a tent spot, which is nice because we have our solar system and everything, so we don't need to be plugged in, which saves on cost when traveling. But we also have just driven up Forest Service roads, especially out west, like along the Rocky Mountains. There's tons of roads that are just maintained by the Forest Service. Almost all of them will have a 14-day stay limit, and it's free as long as you're in like a designated site. So that's a good way as well to find places to park. Usually they're a little bit farther out of the way to find places like that up the Forest Service roads, but a lot of the time you're a little bit more secluded, closer to nature and the outdoors, which is a bonus of finding a spot like that. Anything else to add?
No, I think you covered it.
We had a couple questions about insurance and how we insure the bus. All of my insurance for my cars and everything is through Farmers Insurance. The bus is insured through a third party through Farmers Insurance. It's from Foremost Insurance. But we were able to find them through our insurance agent, and we have this insured like an RV.
And it's cheap.
It's cheap. It's not too expensive. I can't remember how much it is a month. I think it's $60 a month, full coverage. So we definitely lucked out on that because I know people have had trouble trying to get insurance. One thing that really helps when you're trying to get insurance on like a DIY van or bus camper is you can always contact the Department of Transportation in whatever state you live in, and they can come out and inspect your build. And if it's up to the like national RV code, they will reissue you an RV title. And then once you have a new RV title for your vehicle, it's really easy to get insurance on it. The tricky part is trying to insure it like an RV when your title says that it's not an RV. That's the hard part. And I know some states are easier than others to switch your titles like that. What I found researching online, Texas is a really easy state to switch your title. I haven't tried it in Idaho yet, but I might eventually. I already have good insurance, so it's not a pressing matter.
We lucked out. But there's options for you. And I think it covers, it's everything inside too, right? It's our belongings.
Yeah, the policy we have on the bus is full coverage, so it covers the bus up to a certain amount of money, and I think we capped that at $25,000. So if we totaled the bus, we would get $25,000 for it. But we also have a separate insurance policy that's like a renter's insurance, and that covers up to $100,000 of personal belongings. And that includes the personal belongings in your vehicle. So that kind of makes up the other part of the insurance for the bus. If we did get in a big accident and we lost everything, our personal belongings would be covered, the cost of the bus would be covered, and we'd be okay. And the renter's policy is only like, I think $10 a month. So definitely worth it. Just if you do it, just make sure that it covers the belongings in your vehicle, your personal belongings, because sometimes it doesn't. Moving on to some more questions. A lot of people have asked us about our sink and where we found it. It's really neat because the cutting board and the strainer is built in. We got it on Amazon. Did we link that anywhere?
I don't know, but we'll link it to this one.
We can link it to this video. I'm not sure if we have before in any of our other videos.
It's great, though. We've liked it.
A lot of people's asked about where we found the bus, how much it cost, how much the build cost. I can give some general numbers on that. Most of it's in my head. I do have receipts for pretty much everything, but I've never added it all up. Most of it's just in my head. The bus was about $14,000. We found it on Auto Trader, which is nice because with Auto Trader you can look through the whole country, not just a specific area of the country. And we lucked out. The bus was actually only an hour away from where we were based out of at the time. But our first van that we did, we ended up driving all the way from southeast Idaho to like Roseville, California to get. But our first van we did find on Auto Trader as well. So that's a good resource if you're looking for stuff. And then the price of the build, it's always more than you think it's going to be. Especially if you're building it with like your wife or your girlfriend and they start picking out extra stuff.
Okay.
But I think we have about $15,000 into the build. And a lot of that, well, not a lot, but some of your biggest ticket items is going to be your solar system, depending on how big you go with it. I think we spent close to $4,000 on our solar system. The fridge, if you get a legit RV fridge, which is definitely the way to go because they're way more efficient on power, and you can get a 3-way fridge and run it off of propane as a backup. But that one was close to $2,000 if I remember correctly. The oven and cooktop, those can get expensive. We actually found our oven used to somebody that was remodeling their fifth wheel. Cooktops, Dometic, we just bought it new. It was only a couple $100. But that's some of the biggest costs. Solar system and appliances.
But it is, I just want to add, it is wise to go with things that are made for this kind of stuff, like that are made for RVs or made to be off-grid. Like Dometic is a great brand because you start using, the little mini fridges that you get from Walmart or whatever. I mean, they could work, but they're not as efficient. And they're just not made to be bouncing around in your vehicle while you drive across the country. So it's a little more expensive, but I do think that it's been worth spending a little extra to make sure that we have things that are meant for what we're doing.
Exactly. And to add to that, like our oven and our cooktop is propane, which I would be a little worried about putting a propane appliance in a vehicle that's not made to be in a vehicle. Just because, like Jessica said, you're moving around, you're bouncing around a lot. You hit a pothole, it's like going through an earthquake for everything inside your vehicle. So it's a little bit more peace of mind to know, like, yeah, our oven and our fridge and our cooktop is all attached to propane, but it's made to be in an RV and it's made to be moved around like that. And we never travel with our propane turned on anyway. But it's a nice peace of mind to have. People asked us about our mattress and the size we chose and why. Our mattress is a full-size mattress, and it's 8 inches thick.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's 8 inches thick. The way we decided to do it in this build is we wanted certain things underneath our bed, like our propane tank is underneath our bed in like a sealed box. And We wanted to be below our windows on our bed as well. So that kind of dictated how thick of a mattress to get. We've always done a full-size mattress in our builds just because Jessica's small, I'm big, we still fit on it just fine, and it gives us more space to do other things. I think if we had a queen-size bed, it would just feel like a waste of space.
But if you like more space, then do your thing. You know. But yeah, the keeping the mattress underneath the windows was definitely a big deal. We obviously wanted all the window that we could get, but then also when it's cold, you tend to get some condensation on your windows, and if your mattress is always touching the windows, it just increases the chance of getting moisture onto your mattress. And we do have a waterproof cover and all that stuff on it, but we just didn't want a wet mattress all the time. So keeping the mattress below the windows just makes sure that that doesn't happen ever.
Yep. You don't want mold problems. That's the worst. No. Especially on like an $800 mattress. Some people asked us about our ceiling. Jessica picked out the ceiling. It's awesome. I wasn't too sure about it when she actually wanted to do it, but it was a little tricky to secure up there because it's thin and it's lightweight, which is awesome for a bus. But we just got it from Home Depot.
It's just a little kit. Came in a box and it had all the different colors in it already. We just bought a few of them.
Yeah, it had like a ridiculous accent wall Pinterest kind of box that it came in. And at first I'm like, this is going to be dumb. But it actually ended up being pretty cool.
So there you go. But we'll link that. We'll try and find it and put a link to Home Depot's website for it if you want it.
We had a couple people ask us about how we're able to work on the road with like where we get internet from, stuff like that. I know people that do like the satellite internet stuff, and maybe if our jobs were a little bit more time consuming on the internet, like uploading videos and stuff a lot, we might do something like that, but it's expensive. Satellite internet is pretty spendy. We just hotspot off of our phone data. We have Verizon and it works pretty good almost anywhere we go.
It's a little more expensive than some of the other phone plans, but we found when we started comparing all of them, trying to decide which service to go with, that Verizon wasn't that much more really for their unlimited plan, and they seem to work the best. I mean, my work phone's AT&T, and I almost always have better service on my personal phone with Verizon, so we'll just hotspot that, and it seems to work pretty well. And if we really aren't getting a good hotspot or we need better internet, there's always the coffee shops or McDonald's, places that have Wi-Fi that you can stop at for a little bit if you need it.
Yep. And what we do online, I manage a couple like rental cabins for some people I know, and that's pretty easy. I just have like the app on my phone and I can go through and check bookings and answer questions, and that's pretty easy. Jess answers emails and
I make reservations for this
phone
fly
calls
fishing
and stuff.
lodge. So it doesn't take much, and if we are traveling and we're going to places that are a little spotty on service, I'll just set some time to find a coffee shop or something for about an hour or so in the mornings, get my emails answered and everything, and then I'm done for the day until we are somewhere with better service, or until the next day when we find another coffee shop.
Yep.
So.
I had a couple questions about what our walls are made out of. They're made out of beadboard, is what it's called. Also came from Home Depot. We can put a link to that as well. We didn't want to do a ton of wood on this one. Our last build, our last fan we did like the tongue and groove pine on the wall, and we stained it, and it looked really nice, but it was a darker color. We stained it like a redwood, And this one we wanted it to be a lot more light colors. It makes it feel bigger and makes it just overall feeling of being in the bus is better when you have lighter colors on the wall.
And you might notice in our tour video or some of our other videos, our kitchen, we have a backsplash that looks like tile, like little white subway tiles, but it's really just a vinyl sticker that's textured, and we love it, and it looks pretty close to the real thing. It's so easy to clean. We don't have to worry about grout or tiles breaking, and it was pretty easy to install, would you say?
Yeah, it's super easy. It's a sticker, and you just piece it together.
And it's been great. He caulked it along the sides and the edges so that it stays a little better, so we haven't had any issues with it coming off or bubbling. Yeah. It's been great. So.
And I've done a lot of tile, and I never thought tile was a good idea to put in a moving vehicle. I know people do it, and I even know some manufacturers of like the big fifth wheels and stuff do it, and it can be done. You just got to get the more like specialized, expensive thin set and grout that allows for a little bit more movement. The more you move tile, the more chance it's going to pop off the wall. So.
But the sticker is also lighter. Now, if you're doing a shower, probably wouldn't do the sticker in the shower. If you really want tile in your shower, do tile, I guess. But
it is heavy.
For
it's
the
like
kitchen,
putting concrete and rocks everywhere.
Yeah. But as an accent wall, like for a backsplash, it's great for the kitchen because, like I said, it's easy to clean. And it's lightweight, so.
Yeah, it was a good find. Another question that we got a couple times in the YouTube comments was about our water filters and how often we change them. I haven't actually changed them yet because we haven't used our shower a ton. But I did end up adding a little bit of like a chlorine chemical to it to help because we haven't been using it a ton. If I was using it all the time, like if me and Jess were showering every day or every other day, I would probably flush out the system every week to every 2 weeks, just depending on how dirty we were. And then with the replacing the actual filters, I just take them out every once in a while and check them. The UV light has like a little indication light on it if it's not working properly anymore, so that's helpful to know if I need to change that. But from what I've understand and read online and kind of my personal experience is about once a month if you're using your recirculation shower all the time to replace your filters. But it also goes to if your water starts smelling, you should probably replace your filters.
Which can happen. And we learned a lesson. You know, we showered in it once.
Or twice.
A couple times. Did some traveling and then showed up here to the ranch where we didn't really need to use it because there were shower facilities. So we just figured we'd use those instead. And we kind of forgot about it and it sat around, you know, the water in the tank that we had used. And even though it's been filtered, it's been used. And, you know, the next time we turned our shower on, it smelled pretty bad.
It was a little smelly.
So we drained it, flushed the system, did the additive like Joe said, and it's been fine since. So we just have to remember if we're going to use it and then leave it for a while, we should
drain
just
it.
Drain it and clean it out.
Drain it, clean it out, let it sit.
But empty. It was a good lesson, and it's good to know.
Yep. There's a couple people wanted to know about traveling with the dogs. It's actually really easy. We lucked out on our dogs. When they get in the bus, it's like flipping a switch and they're lazy. They usually just sit on their beds and sleep while we drive.
They know that outside is where they get to play and run around and be crazy, but they know once they're in the bus, it's time to take a nap or chill out, whatever. We might give them a bone or a pig ear, but for the most part, they just nap while we drive, and they just lay. Ruger likes to look out the bus door because it's all a window. So he lays right in front of that and stares out. Kevin kind of just lays over by me, usually right here on the floor in front of where we're at, and they just chill. And it's easy.
It really depends on what kind of dog you have. We used to have a golden retriever, and we got it before we moved into our first van, and it hated being in the car. It would get nervous, it would start to shake, it would throw up. Sometimes it would get diarrhea just from riding in the car. And we ended up finding a better home for it just because that's a horrible life to live, to live in a vehicle that you hate being in.
And I've worked in vet clinics for a long, long time, and yes, there are drugs that you can give to help with motion sickness and anxiety, but I don't feel that it's necessary to put an animal through something that makes them so miserable and then just drug them just because. If you can find them a good home, which we did, I think that's the better alternative. And that's just the way it is. And luckily our other two dogs, they love to travel and they don't seem to care. And they like to get out and see the sights just like we do. So
and also too, if you get like a new puppy, a lot of the times they'll be upset when they get in a car just because they're nervous, they don't know what's going on. And a lot of the times they'll grow out of it. But I think getting your dog used to being in the car when it's young is a huge help.
And another thing, just while we're talking about traveling with the pets, that I want to mention, I see a lot of questions about it, not only on our stuff, but also just other groups and forums about school buses and living in them with pets. And that's AC. It's really important when you're living in any kind of vehicle that you are mindful of the temperatures outside. If you're going to be planning on leaving your dogs in the vehicle unattended for any amount of time. Even if it doesn't seem that hot outside, it can be a great deal hotter in your vehicle, especially when you have windows letting light in. And if you don't have airflow, you got to be really careful about that.
Yep.
So, on cooler days where it's still warm, if we're stopped somewhere and we're leaving the dogs in the vehicle, we can turn on our roof fans, open up some of our windows, and let the air circulate.
Good airflow.
If it's going to be really warm, sometimes that's not going to be good enough. We do have our big AC unit that came with the bus. So if the bus is running, it does a great job of cooling it down. If we're just running into a store really quick or something on a hot day, we'll turn the bus on and lock it up and make sure that AC unit's on, and it keeps it nice and cool for the dogs for a short period of time. And as a general rule, we just don't like being in really hot places, so we're usually not.
If it's really uncomfortably hot, we just move somewhere else.
But if you are, and you have your pet, just make sure you have a lot of air circulation going on.
Plus, you don't want Karen to show up and break your bus window to try to get your pet out because she's worried about it.
So just be mindful of it. There is some sense to it. It can be dangerous to leave your pets unattended in a vehicle when it's warm out. So that's what we do. If we do it, we don't do it often. And if we are parked, we try to go somewhere. If we're on the ranch, if we're leaving during the summer on the ranch, we've just had them outside tethered to their leashes. They've got long 20-foot.
Yeah, it's like a 25-foot leash. They have water, they have shade.
And we just let them hang out outside. So if that's an option for you, that's a good one. Also, if you trust where you're at, that nobody's going to bug them
or have Karen come and steal them.
Karens. So anyway, that's what we do there.
That's all the questions we had for this video. As we collect more, we can probably do another video similar. With just answering a bunch of questions like this.
Next up, I think we'll probably do one on our composting toilet. We have a Nature's Head composting toilet that we've been using, and it's great. And so I think we'll do a little review / how we installed it / why we chose it kind of thing next.
That was also a big ticket item. Those
Yeah.
toilets are like $1,000.
So worth it though.
Definitely
I was
worth it.
skeptical about it, but it's been fantastic. And I would so much more rather do that than a black tank ever.
Black tanks are nasty. I hated dealing with the one that we had in our fifth wheel that we used to live in.
Yeah. So that's all we have for now. Thank you so much for watching our videos and caring enough to leave questions and comments. We're about finished here at the ranch for the season, so we should be able to start filming a little more and being more active with answering and replying to comments and questions. We appreciate you guys being here, and if you think of anything else, let us know. We've enjoyed everything so far, answering your questions and doing videos. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for being around. If you're doing anything like this on your own, good for you. Congrats, it's a great life, and good luck with everything. So if you have questions, let us know.